could say the same thing or much of the same about this Jets defense that you just said about the Cleveland defense, because this Jets defense put on a show yesterday on Sunday, taking down the Eagles, one of the best teams in the National Football League. On Sunday, it was the best game of the day by far. It was in the 4 o'clock window. Love to see that. Love to see the Jets still making things happen. And we talked about a couple weeks ago about how Zach Wilson's able to keep this team afloat in the meantime. This Jets defense is going to keep this team competitive until Rodgers comes back, because I really do think Rodgers is coming back. He was throwing a football today, by the way. But we're not talking about the Jets offense. We're talking about this defense and how phenomenal it has been. And Robert Saleh had a quote today that I'm paraphrasing when I talk about this, because he said something along the lines of we've played some phenomenal quarterbacks, a gauntlet of quarterbacks actually is what he used, and we've embarrassed them all. And I mean, he's right. When you go look at it, I mean, they played the Eagles on Sunday. Hurts had 3 interceptions in that game. He looked terrible. I mean, there's some serious question marks about Jalen Hurts going forward, and a lot of it's coming out of this Jets game. That was the second 3 INT game of his entire career. And for a guy like Jalen Hurts, who is like an air raid type of guy, 3 interceptions in a single game is concerning, to say the least. And this Jets defense gave him all sorts of problems. And I mean, Saleh mentioned a gauntlet of quarterbacks. They played Patrick Mahomes. He had the worst single game PFF grade, 52.5, since 2021. So he didn't have a worse game all season last year without Tyreek Hill. So that's crazy to think about. And then they played Josh Allen. He had the worst single game PFF grade of his career since 2019, 49.6. I mean, they're giving some of the best quarterbacks in the NFL some serious trouble. And I think this Jets defense is going to keep doing, man. I mean, Sauce Gardner, I don't know what his injury status is right now. Because do you happen to know what he's dealing with on the injury side?
They said it was concussion protocol. Now, I also saw a report that it was an illness, which was accompanied by a video of him getting his food the Aki way. So that may have some part to do with it. Yeah, you didn't see that? He was getting his food the Aki way. Got like chopped cheese, mozzarella sticks. Probably why he had a little bit of a stomach bug. But they also didn't have DJ Reed in this game. So I remember saying right as that game started, I was like, yeah, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith might be a problem against their third and fourth corners for the Jets. And that was not the case. I mean, neither of those guys had atrocious days, I don't believe. But Jalen Hurts sure did. I mean, this was the worst that we've seen Jalen Hurts look in a singular game really since his first season as a full-time starter, or his first couple starts. And I mean, this Jets team as a whole, you talked about the Zach Wilson being able to keep them afloat. The Jets defense is the ship. Zach Wilson just has to kind of not run it into humongous waves
point.
and
That's
icebergs.
A great analogy.
Like, just don't do that, because this ship is massive and it is strong and it is durable. Because dude, like the same things that I said about Cleveland, I'm gonna say about like they were always putting pressure on them, even against an Eagles offensive line that we know to be one of the best, especially, you know, what they're able to do in comparison. They'd have some weird plays like Dallas Goedert catching a screen, having it popped up in the air, and Quinnen Williams gets an interception. But they're second in the NFL. Yeah, they're second in the NFL in takeaways, tied with the Bills, and then behind the Jags with 13 in 6 weeks. So 2 a game. You know, you get 2 free possessions for Zach Wilson and company. That's very important. But if you can force the Eagles to turn the ball over 4 times in a single game, you're going to do pretty well, because the Eagles, one of the best ball control teams in the NFL. Jalen Hurts already up to 6 interceptions on the season so far. 3 of them come in this game. He had 7 all of last year. So that just shows how big it is for them to have that many turnovers, especially with no Sauce Gardner.
He's not the type of quarterback that throws for 3 interceptions in a game.
Yeah, like it's not like he doesn't have those Josh Allen like, oh, I'm going to throw the ball to defense 4 times today because I want to. Like, granted, the last time that happened, Jets game, Jets defense. So they're flying around, they're hitting. Quincy Williams been one of the bigger breakouts in this season so far. He was like one of the main, like, are we certain about this guy for this Jets defense? He's been fantastic this year. Another guy I want to highlight is Bryce Huff. He's got, I believe, 25 pressures. I can't remember if that was before or after this past Sunday, but he's been fantastic, and he's like their fourth edge rusher. They just bring him in off the bench, and he gets pressure. He's got, I believe, 25 pressures on 87 pass rush snaps, I believe was the number, which, you go looking around the league to guys in a similar tier. I mean, my guy TJ Watt's got 27 and I believe 150 pass rush snaps. So Bryce Huff really getting after the quarterback right now. And we're going to talk about this Jets team a lot because they are polarizing because of this defense and because of Zach Wilson and because of Aaron Rodgers looming. But the reason why we're still talking about them and the reason why they're still relevant is because of this group.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned Quentin Williams a little bit, but he's obviously the star of this defense. I mean, there's no question about it. But you mentioned Quincy Williams. He's been phenomenal. And C.J. Mosley is having a bounce-back campaign. Because C.J. Mosley was starting to be he was one of the best linebackers in the National Football League, when he was with Baltimore, obviously. I don't remember how long ago that was, but it feels like a while. And it seemed like C.J. Mosley went to New York to die. And he's the third-ranked PFF linebacker overall in the National Football League. So got to love that. And I mentioned before the season, Jermaine Johnson would get some play this year. He has been fantastic, but he has looked imposing when he's out there. And he is a former first-round pick that got a lot of hype in the draft. So they're making all things work in New York right now. Like you said, it is an oil tanker of a defense. Zach Wilson just has to. It's like Dwight steering the ship in that Office episode on the Booze Cruise when he's not really steering the ship. It's the defense, but you can give Zach Wilson the wheel. I'm getting a little too deep into the analysis here, but this Jets defense is elite and definitely has an argument to be the best in the National Football League right now.